When drafting proposal sections, you should also begin drafting the graphic ideas that will go along with each one of those sections' text. Take notes, make sketches, and stay close to the main message in your text when developing your visuals. Keep in mind that graphics need to deliver a quick, easy to understand message. If a reader needs to take too much time to study your graphic, it's not doing its job. Your graphic should be understandable in context, and your surrounding text should lead into and reference your graphic accordingly.
Great points there. So let's dig a little bit further into the graphic that we just had up on the screen that we did for one of our federal contracting firms of which we support. So at the onset of this opportunity that we're looking at here now, the actual client, when when solicitation came out, one of the things that we did was we first took some time to figure out, what is it that they're asking for, what methodology do we need to superimpose across our solution to show that we actually get it. And so what this particular opportunity entailed was the government needed a PMO to be stood up, or a project management office to be stood up. And they said they wanted to have lean principles as well as agile principles to actually drive their projects, and whether it be technology projects or other sorts of projects. And so I was a part of the solutioning team on this one, and we thought about it. We said, well, we've all built PMOs. Some of us have built, large scale PMOs. Others of us have built smaller scale PMOs. And so we thought about it, and we said, well, there's actually sub layers to the PMO, right? So what we did was we opened up, prior to opening up Microsoft PowerPoint, which is what we're in right now, we had it on on a sketch pad that we used right within this a tool called Miro. Some folks call it Miro, but I know it as Miro. But it's Miro.com, and that's a great tool to be able to just illustrate and sketch out ideas and methodologies and put it all into one sheet where everyone can kind of work together and figure out what they're going to actually get to or land on, and then eventually being able to take that solution and put it into an actual graphical depiction. So what we did was we actually, once we pulled together the actual solution, we thought about it. We said, well, look, this PMO needs to have layers, right? So the first layer needs to be a governance and oversight section, and that's where your lean principles can come in at, right? And so we're thinking about stuff like, how do we, streamline the processes? How do we eliminate the fat, if you will, to make sure that before we get to our projects, we've got some process excellence going on at the governance and oversight levels, right? And so instead of doing a traditional approach, which would have likely have been to go into your proposal template and just begin writing about why your organization has the best PMO experts and why your organization has been successful at implementing lean principles across projects, and then ultimately why your team is able to understand agile principles across IT projects. Well, that traditional methodology is probably going to be used by 80 to 90% of the proposal submissions. So if you are in the shoes of the proposal review team, think about how monotonous that's going to get. So by the time you're on probably proposal review number 3, you've already read how great each firm feels they are as it pertains to PMO stand-ups or governance and oversight, lean and agile principles, etc. So this approach, what we did was we thought about what's most important to this particular agency. And this one was CMS, but when it comes to drilling down further into that particular division, we thought about what's most important, right? And in this particular scenario, we wanted to write about, and we wanted to have an emphasis on things like workforce development and continuity, risk management, performance management, and quality controls. And so we thought about at the governance and oversight level, there's going to be a need to have that sort of an emphasis at the highest level. And this needs to occur before we even get into the actual life cycle of a project, which is where we have the transition in, project initiation, transition out, and ongoing support. So this graphic actually saved us pages and pages of proposal, just real estate, right? Where we now, at the first page of our understanding, when we get into the technical aspects, we hit them with this graphic, right? And if we think about this from a top-down approach, once you've given them the graphic, our next job is to begin to talk about our tactical approach, right? And so now we can then break this out and say section 1 may be on building the PMO Center of Excellence. And we then begin to talk about how our key personnel have the decades of experience in building centers of excellence and PMOs, etc. Then our next section will begin to start talking around governance and oversight and how our organization has implemented lean specific governance and oversight organizations across agencies within CMS. And here's how we did it, right? And we had to focus on workforce development, risk management, performance management, quality control. And then ultimately, we get into the level of the enterprise lifecycle methodology within here, when we're really talking specific about agile emphasis and how we would implement each project. So now we're able to break this out section by section without taking up too much real estate. Now, the key component here when you're doing it in this methodology is to remember graphic, tactical approach, and then proof point. Now, later on inside of our presentation, we're going to go specifically into how to build a more engaging proof point. So I don't want to spoil you guys with giving that to you too soon, but that is something that we're going to be talking about here momentarily. So again, this is something that we use right inside Microsoft Project. The beauty of building something like this is that it's reusable. You're able to now go in and modify this based upon what your actual client is going to be looking for within their solicitation, to let them see right off the bat that you get it. You have an understanding of what it is that they're actually asking for, and then you can begin to call out each section as you're talking to it, right? So you now have a reference point. If this is graphic 1.1 of your proposal, you can now pull out and isolate sections, right? So you can potentially gray out all of it and just have this section that I'm hovering over right now highlighted, saying we're going to focus on centers of excellence. The next section, we're going to just focus on governance and oversight. And so to the reader that may not be as technical, right? Because keeping in mind, I think most of us that are proposal writers, we sometimes make the mistake in thinking that all of the reviewers are going to have the same level of experience and expertise as your team may have. That's a critical mistake. In most instances, the review teams may be at the division level, they may be at the program level, but they may not be an expert in what it is that they're asking to come onto their team. So once you've submitted that proposal, it's really your job to put things into simplistic terms so the readers can understand. Now, PowerPoint is only one dimension of how we normally build these things out. There have been and there are other tools that we use, i.e. Adobe Photoshop, Adobe InDesign. On down the line. What else am I missing, Kyle? There's so many tools that we use for this, and I'm sure a lot of the other organizations do as well. But if you're not a high graphic design organization, I highly recommend using something like PowerPoint to get this created. Once you've actually created it, you can then, if you want to get this, into your document. If you decide to go ahead and select all, you can save this quickly down as a picture, a PNG. Obviously you put your title on there. Let's see, sample for presentation, and you save it, right? And so now this PNG is ready for you to drop into your proposal, and then you can use this as a launch pad into your other sections. Now, there are other instances where we have utilized really, really detailed graphics and designs. I think there was one time, Kai, we were building out like an OCIO
Yes.
Just this huge enterprise lifecycle methodology that took a lot of layers. But again, I think keeping it simple is really the nugget I think we want to drive home here.
Yes.